Welcome to Canva Tutorials by Like It or Not. If you've ever seen a YouTube thumbnail like this one and wondered how they created the image effect, then this video is for you. Every expert was once a beginner. Let's get started. Your very first step is to select an image. If you already have an image without a background, that's fantastic, but if you don't, you're going to need to remove the background. I'm going to select this image right here just to demonstrate this. Click on the image, click Effects, and Background Remover. It might take a little minute, especially if you have a slow internet connection. And there it is. Click Apply. Here is another version, and we're going to show you how to do it free. Basically, you want to take this image, and I can replace background, download the image if I want, but you'll notice that it cuts off some of her if I do it that way. I'm going to make it as large as I can make her. I'm going to snip out the image. And I do that on Windows Shift Windows S. I'm not sure how you do it on a Mac or Linux, but here we go. For free background removal, use remove.bg. You can upload an image or drop a file, drag and drop a file, or paste an image. That's what I'm going to do. I paste my image in. And there you go. I'm just going to download the preview image here, just like this. If you want to download HD, you have to log in and sign up. Upload. I'd already uploaded it from my device. So the one on the left is her, and that's the exact size. And then here, let's bring her down. And you're going to notice first, even though she was the same size, if not a little larger when I started, she's smaller now. If I make her larger, you're going to notice a quality difference on the one that was done through Canva in HD and the one that was done free in the preview. We're going to go through all of these different image effects, which are very effective for YouTube thumbnails. And the very first thing we're going to do is create the classic white outline on an image. I really like to do is duplicate. And I duplicate just in case something goes funky, because sometimes these effects do go funky. So I'm just going to duplicate this page. The second recommendation, the second bonus tip I have is to take a screenshot of the information as you're doing your effect. This will help for two reasons. One, if you get it exactly how you want it, then you can reference it back later and use that same information for future videos, for future thumbnails. Click your image, click Effect, and then click Shadow. If you don't have shadows, it's probably in You May Also Like. I don't have Code Art turned on. If I click it, it's going to ask me to connect to it. And that's what it would do if you don't have shadows connected yet. And I'm going to click on this one that says Glow. If you hover over it, you're going to see these lines with circles, and that's the control panel. And you're going to click that. A new screen will pop up and give you the option to change size, transparency, blur, and color. Write in the numbers that you want, or you can use the slider, but I'm going to type in, and for my blur, 1. And for this one, I'm using white. I'm going to go ahead and size her up, because in general on thumbnails, you're going to want a large image. And it's really helpful if you put that bottom edge behind something or at the bottom. Go ahead and click apply and fingers crossed. Let's create a shadow drop in black. And here is my screenshot that I took of this one up here so I could duplicate it exactly. Effects, shadow, drop. There's the one that says drop. Click it. Click on the controls. And here's the same screenshot that you see here. Bottom right, offset, angle, transparency, blur, and color. Let's change our offset to 3. Let's move that up with the slider. Our angle, we're going to keep the same. The transparency, I'm going to move it up to 100 this time. And I'm going to take the blur all the way down to 0. And we're going to look at this, because there are a variety of ways you could change this shadow drop. You could have it shadow drop from the top right, the bottom right, the bottom left, and top left. So those are all those options. For example, you might want it on the top left, or even, where was the bottom? The bottom left, if you decided you wanted your image on this side of the thumbnail. This one is shadow angle, and you're going to notice that it is an angle behind her. And for this one, we're going to talk customize colors. Effect, shadow, angle. Do you see it there? See controls, and here are the control panels. Angle, transparency, blur, and color. Let's go ahead and get my numbers where I want them. And then we're going to look at the color, and you're going to see here she's offset. Let's actually make her a little smaller so that you can see the whole thing. There she is. So here's the color. And I could essentially put any of my brand colors I wanted behind her with the brand kit. I could even add a new color, customize that as well. If you have a specific color that you like and you know the hue number to, use that. And, oh, okay. Do you see what happened? It got funky. That's why I always like to make a duplicate. Hey everybody! Surprise! I'm interrupting the tutorial because I have a very important question. I wanted to know what you thought of the intro today and seeing my face. I'm considering doing more of this for future tutorials, but wanted to get a gauge on what you thought first. Comment below so that I can hear your opinions, and now we can get back to our lesson. Let's move on to shadow curved black, and you're going to notice that there is a slight curve here underneath her. I set the curve all the way to the max, and my offset is at 3, my transparency is at 100, and the blur is all the way up. I wanted to just show you massive blur in this one, but we're going to look at the different curve numbers. Now, you see that there's plenty of clear space or transparent space, and I just like to go ahead and move that part in. That way, I've got less things to grab. Let's click See All, and here is the curve. This one to 100, and this one to 20, and we're just going to leave it on black. I want you to see what the differences are. So here's 20. There's 19. 18, it's just very minute changes. Let's go down to 10. Like, it's really hard to see. Now this one, it curves the other way. Do you see the difference? It's gonna curve this way, and this one curves up. Do you see the minute changes that are being made with the curve? But we want this, and it's one reason why for this one, I prefer, if I'm going to use this one, a larger blur set. Now we're going to look at shadow page lift, and you're going to notice that it is here on the bottom, and you can see a little white highlight behind her head. See all on shadows and page lift with the controls. I'm going to make the curve. Look, see how the curve is? That way. It's just like the previous one. I'm going to make it the other way. I'm going to take off the transparency. I like for the transparency to not be there, but you might prefer to customize it with less transparency. There it is in white, so it should match this one. Blur. Let's go down to no blur. 1, 2, and we'll just slightly bump it up each time. And you are going to be in control of how you customize each of your outlines. Here we are, halfway blurred. I like that one a lot. But some people really like it blurred like this. Shadow backdrop. Look, it is very, very obvious. And she's got a shadow behind her. And this is the first one where vertical angles and horizontal angles come into play. And we're going to look at both of those, not as slowly as we did the others, but you're going to see it. Click Effects, Shadow, All. There's Backdrop. Click the control. And you're going to notice it is barely there, and that's just because of the transparency. I'm going to bump it up. For this one, I didn't even bump it up all the way. I've just bumped it up to 87. If you bump it all the way, that's what it looks like. 45. My blur, I'm just going to take all the way off. If you wanted it all the way up, that's what it would look like. Now, let's change this horizontal angle. Let's just click it down some. 20. Do you see it's changing which side of her it's on? Basically, which way is the sun facing? Okay, now let's look at the vertical angle. It's on 0 now. It's how far back it is. Do you see that? So you could change the vertical angle and the horizontal angle. Double effects. We're finally at the double effects. This is sort of the effect that was created. Do you see her? I'm going to actually copy her, and we're going to go up here. We'll scroll all the way back. And you're going to notice that it's slightly different. For this one, I did the white outline first and then the black. Whereas the original one, I did the black outline first and then the white. So that's another thing to consider when you're creating your outlines. I forgot to do my screenshot of the first one, but we're going to try to recreate it. Effects, shadow, and for this one I did choose glow. Shocker. We're actually, instead of doing the white, I'm going to actually go ahead and do the black on this one. Tell me what color you would have used for this image in this design. And make it larger with hardly any transparency, so 96, and then We'll cut down the blur a little bit. Nope, let's make it 3. Okay, and then I'm gonna apply that. Click out of it and see if it takes. Yes. Effect. Now let's go to glow again, and this time we're gonna do a white. Go ahead and bump up the transparency, increase the size a little bit. What do you think? We need a little blur. And apply. And now, duotone. Duotone is what Canva members did before there was a shadow effect. And what you're gonna notice is that if I click on her, it's actually 2 separate images, and one is just slightly bigger than the other. I need to duplicate it. And then the one behind, I'm going to make it just slightly bigger, not much bigger, but slightly bigger, and go up to effects, and it's called duotone option. We're going to click duotone. Now there are a whole bunch of different options that you can choose, and it actually doesn't matter which one you're choosing if you're choosing a specific color. For this one, we're going to go ahead and shadow it white, and the highlight is already white as well, and apply it. And then we're going to shift her right on top. And you can actually adjust her however you want that highlight to go. But if you want to make minute changes, all you have to do is click on the image in front and then use your arrows on your keyboard, and it will move it over 1 pixel at a time. If you think that the shadow needs to be a little more or a little less, you can just increase or decrease her in size, and that's how you can make that image effect. And then go ahead and highlight and select all of them and group them as one. That way when I click it, they all move together as one. If I size it, they all move together as one. If I flip it, what will happen? It actually only flips the one on top. You see that? This one is a photo adjustment, and it's the same thing with a duplication. Here's the one that's in the back, so I'm gonna duplicate them all to say what this one does. And you could actually use any of these filters, or rather any of these filters if you wanted. Let's use that one, and then we're gonna adjust the blur. See, we can adjust it any way we want. What about that? And then we can put this right on top. Now, one downside of that is that there is a very clear image line on it, and that might not be something you want, but you can solve that by putting it right in the corner, and it sort of hides it. But if your background is different, and let me show you what I mean, let's add something with pink. Let's do this and replace background. It actually is pretty good. Let's see. All right, that one. So you're gonna notice that there is the edge of that photo there. So you're either going to want to adjust the background image so that it is not noticeable, or you're going to want to enlarge the image so that it is not as noticeable. Ooh. Cut off her shoulder. You see what I mean? It's not noticeable, the edge, because the edge is on the edge, and then I brought the top of the edge on to the top of the image. And I think that looks fantastic. You can even do a triple effect here by making her, let me do a duotone here. What if I do all black with a little transparency here? And we'll make her a little smaller. And then it just gives it a little more depth. You can stack effects on top of effects. I had fully intended to share with you a segment on how to recreate the thumbnail that I shared with you at the beginning of this tutorial. However, I ran out of time today. So I'm going to share that with you on the next full tutorial. Thank you so much for learning with me today. Here are a couple of recommendations for you to watch next, and I have all sorts of fun lessons planned for August, including the July subscriber celebration. See you next time. Bye.